Good evening. I'm Byron Scott with a CTV News update. It was 60 years ago when more than 250,000 people came to Washington to march for jobs and freedom. People gathered in front of the Lincoln Memorial and were moved and motivated into action by civil rights leaders. One of those was D.C. Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton. The then 26-year-old was working with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in Mississippi when she became part of the staff that organized the march.
I finally did get to go to the march, where I could see that as far as you could see from the Lincoln Monument, thousands upon thousands of people. We think 250,000 people had come. I don't believe there's been a more successful march or demonstration than the March on Washington. Indeed, out of the march came the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. It was my good fortune to chair. It was an extremely fruitful event. I only wish we could do another.
Well, Norton says the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and the 1968 Fair Housing Act came in part from the march. Thousands of people are expected tomorrow in the nation's capital for what organizers are calling not a commemoration, but a continuation march. It takes place at the Lincoln Memorial beginning at 8 o'clock and will be followed with a march through the streets of the nation's capital. With kids heading back to school in Prince George's County on Monday, AAA Mid-Atlantic wants drivers to get back to the mindset of seeing school kids and buses in local neighborhoods. AAA is also reminding drivers that Maryland law requires you to stop when school bus lights are flashing.
Drivers should be paying close attention to when school buses are displaying the flashing yellow lights. That indicates that they are slowing down and preparing to stop. So drivers should prepare to do the same, no matter which direction they're traveling in, if they're behind the bus or approaching the school bus. Certainly when those lights are red, you need to stop. When that arm is extended, wait for the children to be loaded and or unloaded off the bus. And it is not safe or okay to proceed until that arm is lifted and those red lights are no longer flashing.
Failure to stop for a school bus can lead to a hefty fine. Well, this new school year is beginning on a sour note in Prince George's County. Police say a loaded gun was found at a middle school in Adelphi this morning. The weapon was found in a teacher's lounge restroom at Sonia Sotomayor Middle School at around 10:30. Police say it's unclear how long the weapon was at the school. Meantime, new Prince George's Superintendent Millard House releases his action plan for the first 90 days of the school year. The document is called Planting the Seeds, Listen, Learn, Lead, and he says it lays out a roadmap for success. House announced his action plan at last night's Board of Education meeting.
It's my opportunity to really listen, to learn, to understand this community even more as I move forward, to make adjustments and shift course as we move forward, to make certain that we're doing what's necessary for our employees and our students moving forward.
Well, House also says there will be 5 community listening sessions this fall with 3 in-person forums. To view the full action plan, go to pgcps.org. Well, a legal setback for a group of Montgomery County parents who wanted to opt out their children out of certain lessons involving books with LGBTQ characters. A federal judge issued a ruling yesterday. 3 families are suing the school board over its decision not to notify parents when such books will be read and not allow them to kick their kids out of the class. As part of the suit, the families requested a preliminary injunction that will require the school board to give them the ability to opt out.
Obviously, the lawyers very much disagree. The parents very much disagree, and we disagree. Our organization, Religious Freedom Institute, will be filing a friend of the court brief in the Fourth Circuit. We're appealing it immediately. The lawyers are appealing this immediately. There has been some talk about civil disobedience in the sense of parents just deciding to pull their kids anyway. Once those books come out, and unfortunately that will get the parents in trouble if they do that. But that's certainly what's being discussed.
Well, the lawsuit itself will still be heard in court before a final ruling is issued. Well, as he has for the past 20 years, Congressman Steny Hoyer hosted his annual Women's Equality Luncheon today. This was the scene at the hotel in College Park. It was a packed house, drawing community and elected leaders. Hoyer hosted the luncheon to celebrate the great contributions women have made to society.
Significant for me because, I have 3 daughters, and they grew up just as women were really getting recognized, and so important that we take advantage of all the talent we have in America and in the world. And this is a celebration of that.
This is really significant. You know, as a black female prosecutor elected in this country, I represent 1% of all prosecutors elected in the United States. And when I think about how sobering that sounds, the fact that my voice in the criminal justice system is in many ways limited. Being able to be in rooms like this, seeing other women who are pioneers in their field or who are making a difference, gives me affirmation and really confirmation that I'm headed in the right direction.
And this year's keynote speaker was Shalonda Young, the director of the Office of Budget and Management in the Biden administration. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Byron Scott. Back in a bit. Stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Kate Levy. When I was just 10 years old, I lost my father, Joe, in the 9/11 attacks at the World Trade Center. He was a lieutenant in the New York City Fire Department. For 9/11 this year, now a National Day of Service, I'll be doing what my dad loved to do, helping others in need. Please join me by doing your own good deed that day. Visit 911day.org to learn more.
Police identify the man killed in a violent crash in Fort Washington last night. 54-year-old Lamont Hoyer of Waldorf was killed in a 3-car crash. It happened just before 10 o'clock along Indian Head Highway and Farmington Drive. Police say the driver of the pickup collided with Hoyer's vehicle and then hit another car. 2 of Hoyer's passengers and the pickup driver were taken to an area hospital with serious injuries. The third driver was not injured. Anyone with information on the incident is asked to call 1-866-411-TIPS. And some residents and tenants at a senior apartment complex in Upper Marlboro say their rent has gone up over the past few months by hundreds of dollars. And one council member says that could be a violation of law. Residents of the Marwood apartment say their rent has increased by $300. The temporary rent cap bill that was passed earlier this year by County Council limits most increases to 3%. District 7 council member Crystal Oriata says she's heard from residents in other senior complexes as well complaining about high rent increases. Oriata is urging tenants whose rent has gone up above that 3% increase to reach out to county officials. And yesterday we told you about possible effects on child care nationally once federal pandemic subsidies end next month. Today we learned about what Maryland is doing to try and keep child care facilities in business while assisting parents with their family needs.
One of the changes that Maryland was able to make was to pay providers based on enrollment instead of attendance, which really helped providers have stable income. We know that providers operate on razor thin margins of around, 1%. And especially during COVID, this was important to make sure that, if a child became sick and couldn't go to childcare that day, that providers still had a stable source of income. Maryland added $50 million from the state's general fund to try to extend some of the bonus payments and the provider retention and hiring bonuses. Maryland also gets some childcare funding through taxes on, I think, sports betting and gambling, but it's just really not enough to meet the level of need that we have seen.
Federal pandemic subsidies for child care are scheduled to end on September 30th. Well, more than 100,000 Marylanders have recently lost Medicaid coverage. This according to Maryland Matters. The coverage loss started in May when federal pandemic Medicaid policies expired. Now, low-income participants must re-enroll in the program in order to maintain health benefits. Maryland is using a phased-in approach to determine which of its 8.1 million Medicaid enrollees will remain in the program. Since disenrollments began in May, about 1 in 5 residents have lost coverage. Well, as families prepare to send their children back to school next week, one local jurisdiction is helping to get school supplies in the hands of students. The city of Hyattsville is gearing up for its third annual Back to School Jam and School Supply Giveaway. The event takes place tomorrow and will include music, food, and family-friendly activities. Youngsters can pick up cloth or clear backpacks and get a host of supplies. Thanks to the donations, the city will be able to help 350 students this year.
Education Advisory Committee created a wish list on Amazon so that folks, if they didn't want to go to the store, they could just go online and pick items from the wish list, and they were shipped to us directly. We also had collection box here at the city building and with a number of our community partners throughout the area. Back to school can be a burden on many families because of the supplies that the students are required to have. So it was our goal to help support these families with making sure that the students were prepared on their first day of school.
And again, that event set for tomorrow, 1 to 3 p.m. at Horwich Park. And still ahead on CTV News Tonight, Simon Buggs in the Friday Sports page. Stay with us.
Hey, sports fans, and coming up soon, Kyle Jackson speaks on going into his first year as the official head coach of the Bowie State football team, and a Nationals great makes a surprising announcement. Stay right there.
The governor has declared a state of emergency, and evacuation is now underway as the storm approaches. The National Weather Service has issued a warning as it monitors the storm. Moves in the following counties therefore should seek.
Convoy of Hope is ready to help you prepare for the next storm. Visit convoy.org/prepare.
All right, everybody, it's time for your Friday Sports page. We'll start with some college football. It's an exciting time for Bowie State head football coach Kyle Jackson as he is going into his first year as the official head coach of the Bulldogs. Jackson was interim coach last year, leading the Bulldogs to a 6-4 record. He's going into his 6th year with the Bulldogs football staff, and over that time span, he's been the linebackers coach, tight ends coach, recruiting coordinator, and defensive coordinator. I spoke to Coach Jackson, and he told CTV Sports how he's feeling as he heads into the 2023 season.
It's a great feeling, actually, you know, with the transition that happened last year and being named the interim head coach. It was a quick turnaround, you know, and then after last year's performance, the university thought that I was fit enough to be named head coach, you know, and when that happened, you know, it was a great feeling. You know, it shows that I have a good backing, you know, people believe in me, so now it's my job to make sure that I uphold what they believe.
Coach Jackson also explained what he's learned as the interim head coach and how he's grown.
I think my biggest lesson last year was really delegation, you know, not trying to do everything on my own. You know, like I said, it was a quick turnaround, so it was kind of a scramble. So just trying to make sure everything was in, you know, in order last year, and not making sure the ship don't sink. However, this year, you know, I had a better understanding of how things work, timeline and things like that, so I was able to prepare for this year, coming into this year. So I'm excited, you know, just from the growth for myself and the program, and I'm looking forward to see how far we can take this thing.
The Bulldogs begin their season against Delaware State on September 2nd. Meantime, Major League Baseball news, Nationals legend Steven Strasburg is planning to retire. Strasburg was picked by Washington first overall in the 2009 MLB draft and spent his entire career pitching for the Nationals. During his career, Strasburg was a 3-time All-Star with a record of 113-62 and had over 1,000 strikeouts and 247 regular season starts. He also played a big role in the Nats winning the 2019 World Series as he was named the World Series MVP. And that is your Friday Sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
Thank you, Simon. And now for the community calendar, come out to Bel Air Mansion for Tai Chi. This low-impact, slow-motion exercise involves a series of slow, gentle movements and physical postures. Tai Chi at Bel Air Mansion takes place tomorrow at 10 a.m. For more information, call 301-809-3089. And that's our news for tonight. I'm Byron Scott. See you Monday, 4:30. Good night.